Welcome to the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces podcast. I'm Stephen Rothberg, the founder of College Recruiter job search site. At College Recruiter, we believe that every student and recent grad deserves a great career.
And I'm Peter Zollman, founding principal of the AIM Group, the leading global business intelligence service for marketplaces and classified advertising companies. We consult with recruitment marketplaces companies and publish AIM Group recruitment intelligence and a free weekly digest. We also host the annual Global RecBuzz conference.
This is the podcast for you to learn more about how to create, manage, and work with general, niche, and aggregator job boards and recruitment marketplaces. Hey, Peter, good to be with you again today. The weather is getting cold, which means only one thing. It's ice hockey time.
It is ice hockey time. My favorite team has started playing, and we love the Solar Bears in Orlando. We absolutely love them. They're a minor league team. The hockey is exceedingly mediocre, but the fun factor is extreme. And for $15-16, I can buy a ticket. I can leave my house at 6:15 at night and be there at 7 and enjoy the game. I can even leave at 6:30. It's just, I love the Solar Bears. So, and I love the name too.
Today's guest is Dennis von Allemeersch, the Chief Operating Officer of Aimwel. They're a new SaaS programmatic recruitment advertising platform, say that 12 times fast, owned by DPG Media. DPG, for listeners who don't know, is one of the largest media groups in Northwestern Europe, which for those of us in America, we hardly know where Europe is, let alone Northwestern Europe. We're talking Belgium, the Netherlands, countries in that area. And DPG delivers a wide variety of content. They do news, sports, entertainment, and job ads, primarily to readers in Belgium, the Netherlands, and Denmark. Dennis, welcome to the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces podcast.
Thanks, guys. Great to have me.
It's good to have you. We saw you last at the RecBuzz conference, and man, that was a great time. And your presentation was well received, and we enjoyed hearing about Aimwel. We'll hear about it again today. So thank you for joining us. Are you in the Netherlands, I presume, or are you in Belgium, or do you happen to be in South Africa today? I mean, it can be anywhere, right?
It's all online, yeah. So it doesn't matter. I mean, physically, I reside in the Netherlands, yeah. So we have our main offices in Amsterdam, yeah. And I live nearby. You know, it's around 50-60 kilometers from the office. For you Americans, that's around the corner. For us in the Netherlands, that's a long drive.
And I presume if you live in Amsterdam, you live next to a canal. But no.
Yeah, but pretty. Yeah, I mean, I have actually water at 3 sides of my house. Actually, yeah.
Let's talk about programmatic, because I think that is of great interest to our audience. Before we get to Aimwel, programmatic is pretty solid in the U.S. now. Still kind of just getting going in Europe, and not much at all in Asia, Africa, etc. I think you're much more of an expert than I am. Fill us in on what's going on with programmatic and why it's so important and why and how it works.
Oh, wow. So we have a 20-minute kind of podcast. Yeah, so...
Yeah, and I said we'll keep the questions short and the answers short, and here we are going crazy with the first question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh my God! I heard 3 questions in one. Okay, I'll deal them one by one. Yeah. So, programmatic globally. I mean, I think roughly you're right. Yeah. I mean, solid, of course, in the States, nascent in Europe, and I slightly tend to disagree with your remark on Asia and Southeast Asia. I mean, we're seeing traction starting to come also and demand in Southeast Asia as well. Not so much in Southern Latin America or Africa, for the simple reason that, due to the high levels of unemployment over there, there's not much need for extra sourcing. If you already, like we heard in Amsterdam, if you already have, on average 50 to 200 applies per job, there's not much need for programmatic. Yeah, but Asia is definitely coming. Europe is underway. It took a while, mainly because I think, the traditional big job boards in Europe, as we all know, have fixed pricing models, which makes the switch to programmatic a bit of a financial cumbersome exercise. But I think, driven by client demand, driven by labor shortages, Europe is turning as well. And also that's, of course, why we got it again.
We'll be back right after this break.
Something is creeping in, don't follow it down.
24 hours ago, I found out the person that I've been dating for the last 6 months is a con man.
That is my sister Emma. Andrew Tonks's lies had been so convincing, she'd invested $300,000 with him. However, the tables were about to turn on Andrew. What he didn't know was that Emma had discovered his real identity. But to get any chance of justice, Emma had to act like it was business as usual. Coming up in this series.
And that's when murder, all this stuff goes through my mind. I'm really, really scared.
I'm assuming Sarah has watched too much Netflix and figures I've been defrauding you. Couldn't be further from the truth.
That's what this was, a real-life story that seems so unbelievable, but it was actually true.
A true story that all starts with one simple swipe to the right. I'm Sarah Ferris.
And I'm Emma Ferris, and this is my story, Conning the Con.
Welcome back to the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces podcast. DPG Media was really focused until starting Aimwel, or kind of going down that path, to powering its own local job boards, right? And then you started offering programmatic job ad distribution. You're now doing it in multiple countries, including with job boards operated by other companies through Aimwel. Maybe you can help the listeners sort of better understand that journey from being, running your own job boards to also doing just distribution to other job boards programmatically.
The journey was, it was not a premeditated one, I would have to say. We first developed a programmatic software for our own job boards because we were facing strategic challenges as a job board ourselves. We were being disintermediated. We had an outdated business model with fixed pricing. So we kind of came to the conclusion that in order to, as a job board, to survive, we needed programmatic capabilities, which would enable us to also switch to more performance-based pricing business models, and which would enable us to also source more qualified candidates. It was kind of a switch strategically from being, platform to being network centric. And I think that also ties to Peter's earlier question, what kind of benefits does it bring? In essence, is around, effectiveness and efficiency of sourcing. If I would summarize it in one sentence.
That makes sense. Efficiency of sourcing is something everybody's interested in. A lot of job boards work with multiple providers for backfill and job distribution. What about programmatic? If somebody's working with Appcast or PandoLogic, JobAdX, Jovio, can they also work with Aimwel, or is it a kind of pick your programmatic sort of thing?
We do see that. Independent of Aimwel, we do see that job boards, or for example, I would argue any large volume a recruiting company, whether you're a job board or a staffing company, usually is not married to one or the other programmatic platform. They tend to switch. And however, if you have chosen one, you tend to stick with a certain platform for at least 2 to 3 years, because the barriers of switching are quite large. And you tend not to work together with multiple programmatic, at least that's not what we've encountered, with multiple programmatic platforms at the same time. However, what we do see, and that's one of the reasons, I think one of 5, I would argue, to consider for a job board, what we do see is that the current set of programmatic platforms or recruitment marketing platforms tend to be rather, I would argue, mono-channel players. Yeah, so we do see players having to work together with different types of suppliers if they want to cover the full spectrum of media channels. And I think that's something that we try to solve for, is to have a properly integrated one-stop shop for all media channels, not only aggregators, but also programmatic display. I mean, that's our core DNA as a media company, but also, for example, social, and those are all separate specialisms.
The job boards that are doing programmatic already probably understand that they at times are sitting on one side of the desk. They're a publisher. They're receiving jobs and getting them in front of their users. At other times, they're what we at College Recruiter would call a customer, where they're receiving jobs from an Aimwel or an Appcast or PandoLogic, and we at College Recruiter we do both of those. With Aimwel, for example, we're receiving a feed, right? Are you saying, Dennis, that job boards should, when they're buying traffic, that they should be sending their jobs to Appcast, to Aimwel, to some of the other players? Or are you referring to them as publishers, where they're receiving jobs from multiple sources, or both?
So at Aimwel, we do it one way. I mean, like we work together indeed with you, Stephen. So at Aimwel, we facilitate one way. So we facilitate job boards, or large staffing companies to send on their content to a media network to buy traffic, or and we optimize on apply starts or on applies. So that's the way we do it. And we tend to see that as I said, from a job board perspective, instead of having to work with several suppliers, it might make sense only to have to work with one. Also because as a job board, as you want to have a kind of single view on your job performance from what channels they're coming from, and you want to able also for that single job have a tool that enables you to kind of influence the performance of that single job. And if we're working for every channel with a separate supplier, that's going to make your life quite hard.
Dennis, you mentioned social media and job boards participating in that in some way. Do a lot of job boards you work with, and recruitment marketplaces, really, we call them, because it's much more than just a job board, but do a lot of the ones you work with and a lot of the job boards you're seeing work in social media and video with their employers and even their job seekers?
Yeah, good question. Actually, almost all of them do some form of, or facilitate some form of social recruitment marketing, either for themselves, but usually indeed for their advertisers. And some of them actually employ quite a large number of social marketeers to do so. But I think it goes to my point that every channel has its own specialism. Take social, for example. For example, next week, Meta is kind of sunsetting their special ad audiences, which impact social recruitment heavily. So A, you should know that, and B, then you should also have kind of strategies and knowledge in place to kind of circumvent that change. Otherwise, your social recruitment is going down the drain. And so it's really hard to find a partner who has the knowledge of all those channels and can also combine all those channels into one. And that's something I think, one of the couple of things that are missing from a job board perspective, if you're looking at, proper job board strategy execution, I would argue.
Let's talk about recruitment in general. Recession in Europe, either there or coming soon, probably there by now. Recession in the United States, although it's the most bizarre recession, I think, ever in the United States. We keep adding new jobs and the unemployment rate hits a record low, even with a lot of tech layoffs. How will recruitment marketplaces come through this recession? Is it going to have a significant negative impact, just a minor negative impact, or a positive impact?
Luckily, recruitment marketplaces have weathered through several recessions in the past as well. Yeah, so they'll remain there. On the other hand, if you look at, I think it can go both ways. I mean, a recession is never good, because there will be hire freezes, there will be budget cuts, which will impact job boards as well. How it will pan out, given the fact, certainly in America and in Europe, that there's still huge labor shortages, and how those two will balance out, I think that's anybody's guess. So if I would make a guess at the moment, I would say a minor negative impact.
Dennis, in the minute or two that we have remaining, quick question for you. If I'm a job board and I'm already working with one of the programmatic vendors to distribute my jobs, or perhaps I'm exploring working with one for the first time, what would be the reason that I would work with Aimwel to send my jobs out to other job boards, et cetera, instead of one of your competitors? Like, what are your competitive advantages?
Good question. I think there's 5. So one I mentioned already, being able to act as a kind of one-stop shop for media. Number 2, from an architecture point of view, we've built up our platform so that we automate, or we launch marketing campaigns for every single job. Meaning that we're able to combat the Pareto distribution problem, and being able to steer job performance for every single job. I think number 3 would be that we're able for job boards to support multiple use cases through one platform, not only your always-on campaigns, but also your much-needed B2B product innovation, launching media upsell products for your advertisers, getting into performance-based pricing. All those 3 use cases we can support through one and the same platform. I think the 4th reason would be that we do all of the above in a fully automated way. It saves costs. It's perfectly scalable. You don't need marketeers to tweak the bells and whistles on a programmatic platform. And last but not least, we don't limit ourselves at media distribution itself, but also cover the data garbage in is data garbage out principle. Meaning that we're able to help job boards also with, job taxonomy classification, server-side tracking, and measuring correct channel performance, filtering out the bots, the duplications, and what have you not. So I think five, in my view at least, five good reasons, Steve.
So we want to thank you for joining us today. And we want to ask you, if people want to get in touch, what's the best way? And spell Aimwel, because any logical person spelling it would spell it Aimwell, and they won't get you there. So as you tell us where to find you, spell it right.
Yeah, it's the correct spelling, but with one L, Peter. So that's the easy one. To find me personally, Dennis van Allemeersch, LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest one.
And for the listeners, it's Dennis, and then VANALLEMEERSCH. Dennis, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks for having me, guys, and good luck with the other podcasts that are coming up.
Cheers.
Inside job boards and recruitment marketplaces, is a co-production of Evergreen Podcasts, College Recruiter, and the AIM Group.
Please subscribe for free on your favorite app. Review it, 5 stars are always nice. And recommend it to a couple of people you know who want to learn more about job boards and recruitment marketplaces.
Special thanks to our producer and engineer, Ian Douglas. I'm your host, Peter Zollman of the AIM Group, the leading global consultancy in the field of marketplaces and classified advertising. Find out more about our reports on recruitment marketplaces, job boards, and classifieds, including our new Recruitment Marketplaces Annual, at aimgroup.com/reports.
I'm your host, Stephen Rothberg, of job search site College Recruiter. Each year, we help more than 12 million candidates find great new jobs. Our customers are primarily Fortune 1000 companies, government agencies, and other employers who hire at scale and advertise their jobs with us. You can reach me at stephen@collegerecruiter.com.
Something is creeping in, don't follow it down.
24 hours ago, I found out the person that I've been dating for the last 6 months is a con man.
That is my sister Emma. Andrew Tonks's lies had been so convincing, she'd invested $300,000 with him. However, the tables were about to turn on Andrew. What he didn't know was that Emma had discovered his real identity. But to get any chance of justice, Emma had to act like it was business as usual. Coming up in this series.
And that's when murder, all this stuff goes through my mind. I'm really, really scared.
I'm assuming Sarah has watched too much Netflix and figures I've been defrauding you. Couldn't be further from the truth.
That's what this was, a real life story that seems so unbelievable, but it was actually true.
A true story that all starts with one simple swipe to the right. I'm Sarah Ferris.
And I'm Emma Ferris, and this is my story, Conning the Con.